Arrivederci. Oh, wait, no. Buongiorno. Well, I'm working on my Italian. I apologize. Anyway, I'm Andrew. Today I would like to teach you how to find the height of a cylinder if you know the volume and the radius. So first thing is we need a relationship between the volume and the radius and the height of a cylinder. So we know by definition that the volume of a cylinder, the volume of a cylinder is going to be pi r squared h. And therefore, if you want to find the height of a cylinder, you would have to divide out pi and the radius squared from both sides. So what that means is that the height then is a function of the volume of the cylinder divided then by pi multiplied by the radius squared. All right? So in order to find the height, we need to know the volume and we need to know the radius, basically. And we do. We know the radius here and we know the volume. They gave it to us, function form here. They didn't give us nice numbers, but it doesn't change the theory. We're going to plug in then the volume. Okay? It's going to be pi multiplied by this whole bunch of stuff, 25x cubed, minus then 65x squared, minus 29x minus 3. And that's all then going to be divided by pi times the radius, 5x plus 1 squared. Okay, so now what I'm going to look to do is, other than crying at this point, right? Because you're like, what am I going to do? I'm going to look to just simplify a couple things, all right? The pi's will cancel. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to FOIL this on out. In other words, I'm going to basically, instead of writing it just as squared, I'm going to write another term next to it, the same, identical, because that's what squared means, right? Take this thing and multiply it by itself. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to look to FOIL it, all right? I'm going to look to get rid of the binomial. I want each individual term, okay? I don't want it to really be in factored form at all. So when we do that, we're going to have the numerator stays the same, so why don't we save ourselves a little bit of energy here and just simply copy it, all right, and paste. And, oh, look at that. That piece of the pie came along with it. Okay. Pie. Sounds really good right about now, right? Reminds me of that movie, American Pie. Anyway, 5x times 5x is going to be 25x squared. Oh, that's a throwback, huh? How old is that movie now? My God, I'm dating myself. Oh, boy. Anyway, 5x then multiplied by plus 1 is going to be a 5x, so positive 5x. Then again, positive 5x because it's the 1 times the 5x. And then you're going to do 1 times 1, and that's just obviously positive 1. You're going to combine these like terms. You got two 5x's there, so that'll become a positive 10x, positive 10x, and bada bing, bada boom. Now what I'm going to do is, I don't really like the way that this kind of looks, so we'll just delete those parentheses, and here we go. Now, it's all about pattern recognition, because at this point, we have to do a long division. We have to divide, this is division of polynomials, right? We're going to have to take the numerator, divide it by this denominator, so let's set it on up. And there you have it. So what we do is we take the numerator, we plug it in on the inside of this long division symbol, and then the denominator goes on the outside. This is called the divisor. This is then called the dividend. So the idea here is that we have to take the leading power, all right, of the dividend, which is 25x squared, and figure out how many times does it fit into, or divide it into, in other words, the leading term of your dividend. Wait, dividend, divisor? Did I screw that up? Anyway, I might have screwed that up. Take this thing, which is the leading term of the divisor. Divisor, my God. Don't you love the term? Can't they come up with better words? Dividend, divisor, division, divisor, dividend. I can't even say it. Anyway, that's why I do math and not English. Anyway, we're going to take the 25x squared, and we're going to figure out how many times can it be divided into the leading term there inside of the dividend. So it's 25x cubed, divided then by 25x squared. 25s would just cancel, and then the x would just, the x cubed divided by x squared, you just subtract, right, those exponents. So it's just x. You're going to take that value, which is basically one of the values of the quotient. You're going to plug it in at the top of this long division, and then what you're going to do is you're going to multiply that term to each of the terms of your divisor. So x times then 25x squared is going to be 25x cubed, and if you did this correctly, these should match. And then you're going to take this x and multiply it by that 10x, right? So that's going to be a positive 10x squared now. And then you're going to take the x and multiply it by the 1, so that's going to be a positive now x. There's nothing that goes here, so you can just write plus 0 if you like. It doesn't really matter. Anyway, then what you're going to do is you're going to subtract this entire term from the dividend. So in other words, just change the sign of every single term on in here. Okay, so if this is positive, which it is, make it negative. If this thing is positive, which it is, just make it negative. And if this thing is positive, which it is, just make it negative. You can also change the sign of that one too, but who cares? It's 0, right? So adding or subtracting 0 to anything doesn't really do anything. So you could just leave it alone if you want. Now, combine the like terms. And if done properly, the first term should always cancel out beautifully. Then just combine these. So there's going to be a negative 75x squared. Then this is a minus 30x. And then that's a minus 3. Beauty. Now you're going to do the problem again. You're going to take this leading term of your divisor and divide it on into the leading term of your new dividend. So you're going to do negative 75x squared divided then by the 25x squared. And that's going to now be a negative 3. Plug that in on the top, negative 3. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take this negative 3 basically, which looks like it's x minus 3, right? Because that's what it is. But think about it as a negative 3 for now, and you're going to distribute it to each term there of your divisor. So when you take the negative 3 and multiply it by the 25, you're going to get negative 75x squared. And if done properly, these two should match up exactly, which they do. Then take the negative 3, multiply it by the positive 10x, so that's going to become negative 30x. And then take the negative 3, multiply it by the positive 1, which should become a negative 3. Then what you're going to do is take this whole thing and subtract it. In other words, you got to change now the signs of all those. So if they're all negative, just turn them into all positives. Then get rid of, right? And that's kind of a nice little theory of life. Take the negative and turn it into a positive. Right. Anyway, then do the math. So here, these are like terms, right? I mean, they're the identical terms, positive and negative. They just cancel. And look, they all cancel, right? So you're left with the remainder of 0. Now, once you're left with the remainder of 0, and basically what you can do, and think about it here, whatever this remainder is, if it's 0, that's fine. But what happens is it would be 0 then divided by whatever this divisor is. So you would plug like 25x squared plus 10x plus 1. But who cares, because 0 divided by anything is just 0, right? So that's why we're not doing that part or writing that in. But that's what you would do in case the problem changes. But in any case, let's not delay the end of this video any longer. This is the height. And that's all it is. That's the height, x minus 3. And there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in. I really do appreciate it very much. And if you can, like and subscribe. We really appreciate it very much. And we'd love to help you with more problems. See you in the next one.